So let's click this button here, the foreground. Let's come into something like a blue or a purple. Now, if I'm doing neon, and I use a very similar way to do neon, I want a darker background to kind of emphasize the light of the neon. This is not neon, so I don't want to get too dark here. And of course, we can change this later if we don't like it. I'm going to click OK. Now remember, the shortcut for filling an area with the current foreground color is Alt Backspace in Windows and Option Delete on a Mac, just like that. Create a new layer. Go to your Type tool. You say, well, Andy, the Type tool generates its own layer. Not if you're using it as a mask. Horizontal mask. We're going to make a selection with text. So come up here, click somewhere, and I'm going to type in, well, the word wire comes to mind. Maybe something like that. Now, if you like that, go ahead and get committed right there. See, all it really is a selection. But the fun thing now, if you want to do this, is we can go up to the word select on the pull-down menu and go down to refine edge. Okay, it's showing it to us. It's still a selection. But if I go and say smooth, watch what happens. I can maybe smooth it out a little bit. Change its overall look. I like that. Make sure it still says selection and click OK. There we go. Now, we need a color for the wire. So let's go into here, I suppose, and maybe change to something a little bit more reddish. Again, I'll show you how to change it later if you don't like it. Click OK. Go up to the word Edit on the pull-down menu and go down to Stroke Outline Selection. You could change the color here too if you want to. I'm going to use about 6 pixels. Sometimes based on resolution, you might need more or less. Center, blending and everything else I'm leaving alone. Click OK. Deselect with a Command D or Control D. And we now have this all by its lonesome right there. Next step, make sure you have it selected. Go into our Effects and go into Styles, Bevels. Now, we could try different ones if you want to. I'm doing this one right here, Simple Inner Bevel. See how it begins to make it stand out? Now, the piece that's going to actually literally push it up off the page for us is go back to Bevels and go into Drop Shadows. And maybe something just like a soft edge right here. Go back to Layers. Double-click the FX right here. Now, if we get into the drop shadow right here, we can change the distance. Now, watch this. It'll make it look so much more like it's actually lifting right off of that surface. You can change the opacity, whatever you want to do. I like that. Go ahead and click OK. Now, let's say after that we have gotten to this point, you decide you want to change the background color. I think we know how to do that. That's easy. But how do I change the color of the wire? Well, remember, a layer has an option up here for locking transparent pixels. We talked about that in the chapter on layers. Select it. Now, the only thing I can change is the areas that already have a color in them. So if I come down here and pick maybe something brighter, like a yellow, use the same shortcut that we talked about before, Alt Backspace in Windows, Option Delete on a Mac, and change it to something else. Now, it doesn't have to be text because this never was text. It can be any selection that you want, and you can create an almost wireframe look to it if you want to. Let's go ahead and close this out. We don't need to save it unless you want to. And get back into the safety of our organizer.